That's good. I guess you've got someone to find and focus. Good morning. Welcome to this hour of worship at Unity Church-Unitarian. My name is Reverend Lara Cowtan. I use pronouns she and her, and I'm sharing this morning's service with worship associate Chris Russert. Welcome. Welcome to all of you here in the sanctuary and to all of you who are joining us quite faithfully behind your monitors at home in the sanctuary that you create for yourself in your own space. So good to have you all here with us. And whether this is your first time here as a visitor or if you have been coming regularly for decades, really glad you're here today. Your gifts and your wounds and whatever you bring, whatever you seek, you are more than welcome here. And this morning, I'm especially grateful to be here together with you all after those raging storms last night, which somehow seemed to reflect the turmoil of yesterday. It is good to be here. It's good to be here in community this morning to reconnect and to find our balance together. Chris and I will be pleased to greet you in the hallway after the service on your way into the parish hall for pancakes. Or if you're on your way as a newcomer or somebody with seeking more information about Unity Church, if you're on your way to finding yourself at Unity, which will be upstairs at 10:15. And the topic for that discussion this morning, appropriately, is community outreach and social justice. And I got a note, late breaking news, that the Unity's Act for the Earth pollinator team invites people to stop by the garden. I saw there's a table set out there with seedlings for people to take home pollinating their own gardens. So please do that. And whether you are seeking comfort or challenge or inspiration or balance or community, may you find here what will nourish you and inspire you to live lives of integrity and service and joy. Welcome. Let us begin our hour with the pealing of our bell.
Good morning. Before we sing, so my name is Ahmed Ansaldu. I'm Director of Music Ministries here, for those of you that don't know me. And this is the pickup choir, drop-in choir. We've named it different ways, but basically these folks showed up at 9 a.m. this morning and learned a couple of songs for the service. And that could be you up there next time. So there's another one in August. If you want to follow along, the song they're going to sing is number 1027 in the Teal hymnal. Both of our hymnals have a lot of, have several songs in non-English languages that people never sing because they're non-English languages. But yeah, they learned a bunch of Spanish this morning. So this is Cuando el Pobre.
It is a wonder and mystery that our paths have crossed, that in the immensity of time, in the vastness of space, we coincide here. I am in awe at the ways in which our lives intersect and intertwine, at the beauty we create when we gather. May our coming together make us more compassionate, more just, more caring, and more loving. May our hearts and minds be open to this offering. I am so glad you are here. Let us worship. Let us marvel at the miracle of being here, right now, and the mystery that has brought us together. Each week, we kindle this flame to remind us of the values we hold close. Please join with me in the chalice lighting words found in the order of service. We light this chalice as a symbol of our faith, the light of truth and the warmth of love. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in the singing of our opening hymn.
Quick thing before we sing it, it's not listed in the order of service. It's number 1014 in the teal hymnal. Jason Shelton changed the words from standing on the side of love to answering the call of love. This is a hymn that a lot of this last year have been asked to sing a few times, and it's always a hot mess. People don't know it at all. So this morning, the pickup choir took a few minutes to learn it. And pickup choir, can you raise your hands? So if there's a pickup choir near you, pickup choir person near you, just listen for them saying it very loudly. Here we go. And words are listed in the order of service.
And then all of what has divided us will merge.
And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind.
And then all
And then all people will be strong.
And then all will be rich and free and varied.
And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance.
And then all will nourish the young.
And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again. Each time we gather for worship, we set aside a moment to expand the caring ministry of this congregation. Let us take a moment right now to take a breath together. Settle yourselves, feel yourself resting on your seat. Feel it holding you. Maybe close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Or find a place just to unfocus your eyes and your attention. Together, we recognize the cycle of life and death, the circle of love and compassion and witness that is at the center of this and every sacred community. Among us, there are hearts that ache with grief and loss, bodies and spirits suffering, pain and illness, in need of healing or preparing with loved ones to approach their final days. There are those among us who are living on the margins of poverty, facing uncertainties about their futures and longing for stability. Among us, too, are those struggling with addictions and fear and loneliness. People longing for a sense of belonging and safety, yet maybe battling depression. And among us, too, are those celebrating new lives, new loves, new opportunities, things you're looking forward to, bold achievements. All of this is true to our human condition and a fact of being in community. Our hearts expand to hold and bear witness to all of these truths, to all that you bring. This week, from within our Unity community, we have no submissions for the embracing meditation from our members. But let us lift and hold in our embrace those that we know of, who have experienced loss recently, those who we care about. And especially let us lift today and embrace all of those impacted by the violence at yesterday's political rally. the victims of gun violence, their families, and all of those impacted. I invite you to speak into this sanctuary, into your own space at home, or into the silence of your heart, names of those who you wish to hold up into our communal embrace right now. Will you pray with me? Spirit of life and love, gracious God of many names and none, we gather humbly together in witness to one another's lives, seeking solace, guidance, companionship, and the strength to navigate the challenges that surround us. We gather today, some with hearts that are overwhelmed, overstimulated and oversaturated by the news and current events, from extreme weather and political violence around the world and within our own borders. We hold in our hearts all of those who were impacted. We lift up our prayers to those injured, including the former president and those who lost their lives. We are deeply concerned about the delicate condition of our already too fragile democracy. And we pray for peace. We pray for compassion and understanding amidst fear and division. We know of our interconnectedness. We know that what happens to one of us happens to all of us. And we are in pain. Let us be guided from a place of love. Let us be grounded and centered in our values, that we may draw strength and wisdom and vision to meet the work before us. Spirit of love, help us to lean into each other, for we need one another to be whole. We pray that wisdom and compassion and empathy guide the leaders of our world. And in the midst of uncertainty and upheaval, we strive ourselves to be beacons of hope and agents of change. Grant us the wisdom to discern the paths of justice and healing, of truth and forgiveness, and the strength to walk boldly upon those paths. We lift these prayers and intentions as one people, as one breath, as we enter together into a moment of silence for our own reflection. Oh, that feels good. Amen.
In 2010, Justin Horner was driving down a busy freeway in Portland, Oregon, when his tire blew out. He pulled over to the side of the road and made a sign that he needed help. 3 hours later, a van finally pulled up. Out came a family of 4. They were Latino, and their young daughter acted as a translator between her parents' Spanish and Horner's English, so that they could work together to fix Horner's car. They took about an hour, starting with the father finding a log on the side of the road and using it to lift the car. When they finished, the mom pulled out a big jug of water, and they drank and washed their hands. I just thanked them and thanked them and thanked them, Horner recalled. And I tried to give her money. I only had a $20 bill, and I just thought, it's the least I could do. And she just wouldn't take it. But Horner was adamant, and eventually he put the money in her hand and walked away. Then he heard their small daughter call out to ask Horner if he was hungry. Indeed he was, and she came over with a tamale from their cooler. They exchanged thank yous, she got in the van, and the family started to drive away. As they're trying to get into traffic, I unwrap the tamale, and my money is in the tamale. They had unwrapped the tamale, and they'd put the 20 in, and then they'd wrapped it back up. Horner immediately ran over to the van, which was starting to pull into traffic, to get the father's attention. He rolls down his window, he sees me coming, and he's just shaking his head. And I keep saying, por favor, I'm holding the bill out. And he just kind of puts his hand up, and he just, with this big smile on his face, he just says, hoy por ti, mañana por mí. Today you, tomorrow me. The man then gave Horner a wave, rolled up the window, and drove off. The last thing Horner saw was the young girl waving goodbye through the window. He never saw them again. We have all had times where we were saved by the mercy of somebody who chose to care. Much like the man in the reading, I've found myself stranded, unable to move my car. In my case, it was when I had to move it ahead of a citywide snow emergency after over a foot of snow had fallen. After digging out my car and starting to creak forward, I felt a sudden sting of dread. I was stuck. I had lived in St. Paul for a little over a year, but I did not know any of my neighbors. I tried calling my roommate, but the calls were going to voicemail. Rarely have I felt so vulnerable. How was I going to get out? It was at that point I finally got to know my neighbors. One by one, 4 of them came up, introduced themselves to me, and gave me a push until I could get out. While I would still give anything for a garage, and I'm glad I now have all-wheel drive, I'm still grateful that I got to experience my community's resilience when they chose to extend a bridge of care to me that morning. And when they could have easily just seen me as merely another stranger, I was a human in need, and in their humanity, they decided to help. We may not have known it, but we embodied the phrase the man who came to the rescue told the man he was helping, hoy por ti, mañana por mí. In English, today you, tomorrow me. As my boyfriend, who was from a Mexican-American family, pointed out to me, this is a common phrase his and other Latin American parents use when reminding their children to share out of the goodness of their hearts, not for how they will personally benefit. In her book, Puentes y Fronteras, author Gina Valdez shares the quote, "Hay tantísimas fronteras que dividen a la gente, pero por cada frontera existe también un puente." In English, there are so many borders that divide people, but for every border, there is also a bridge. I believe we all face choices in our lives between borders and bridges. Borders which entrench the differences among us and prevent us from giving or receiving a helping hand, and bridges of compassionate care in the spirit of hoy por ti, mañana por mí, that transcend these barriers and bring us back to our common humanity. In this transcendence, we build beloved community and encounter the sacred. Choices concerning borders and bridges are no stranger to our national conversation, particularly around immigration. I cannot help but think of the literal destruction of a bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge, earlier this year, which took the lives of 6 construction workers, all originally from Mexico or Central America. Amid grief, many rightfully pointed out the hypocrisy of many in our nation counting on the labor of immigrants, including many who are undocumented, to do essential work such as putting food on our table or maintaining our bridges, yet immigrants are still constantly vilified. We have gone decades without enacting meaningful immigration reform, and these workers are often denied protections to live safe, dignified lives. Immigrants are one of America's favorite scapegoats, with an us versus them mentality creating a border within our country where differences are magnified to prevent a sense of shared humanity. How then do we choose to build bridges of care instead? Now, it's not realistic or desirable that all of our differences in identity, culture, values, or beliefs go away. But we can start to build bridges by learning how to be fully human and to share that humanity with others. We all experience suffering and joy. We can all listen and learn from another's experience. I remember working in a summer day camp where there were 3 mothers. One, a Muslim from southern Iraq who spoke Arabic as a native tongue. Another, a Yazidi, which is a small religion found in northern Iraq, who spoke Kurdish. And the third, a Catholic from a Spanish-speaking Mexican family. Like the story in the reading earlier, they had differences that could be entrenched and become borders. But also, as in that story, they chose to build bridges of care instead. I joined with them as they shared stories, as they laughed and prayed together, and watched after each other's children. It was a community based on caring for our common humanity. We all have the choice to do the same. In the spirit of hoy por ti, mañana por mí, we can grab our snow shovels, use our words, presence, and resources as tools to build bridges of care. As the famous line in the musical Les Miserables reminds us, to love another person is to see the face of God. Today it may be you, tomorrow it may be me. But when any one of us extends a hand, together we have something sacred.
Thank you, Chris. I had wanted to start this homily with a joke or a lighthearted story. I like to start things that way. But when I sat down to write, my heart was heavy. It was heavy with the news of yesterday's violence and fear of what might come. And so I sat with that last night. I should have written this a day earlier. But then what came into my inbox was a statement that I wanted to share with you that was released last night by the Unitarian Universalist Association. Unitarian Universalism believes in the right of free speech and the democratic process. Attacks like those at Saturday's political rally weaken democracy, and the Unitarian Universalist Association condemns this attack. At a time when democracy is already at risk, these events will only make our political environment more precarious. As we prepare to meet this moment, we must return to our spiritual grounding and faithful practice. Take a breath. Reflect together. Wait for emerging truth over quick speculation. Anchor yourself in communities and relationships that foster resilience, liberation, and strategy. Cultivate nuance and seek out deep wisdom, political analysis, and spiritual grounding, as misinformation will be rampant. The statement goes on to say, our Unitarian Universalist tradition is rooted in the values of human dignity, justice, compassion, and democratic principles. And we will remain vigilant in our commitment to protecting our democracy and the integrity of its principles and the rights of all its people. Let us keep love at the center. We are in this together. So I found these words from our denominational leadership to be grounding and centering, helping me to focus and draw on what I know to be right and true, to find my own center in love, which truly is at the center of our entire message today. Our Unitarian Universalist values state that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. That's the new wording. As we embrace our differences with commonalities, our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Now, this is not just some lofty ideal. This is our covenant, our promise to ourselves, to one another, about how we are going to live our lives in the world. We are accountable, that's what covenant means, to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Our own being and humanity is intricately wrapped up in that of all others. That is the Universalist message. I've had a song by Shoshana Jedwab in my head, and I cannot sing like Reverend Kathleen, so I'll just share the words with you. I mean, you don't want me to. Where you go, I will go. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your divine, my divine. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Maybe somebody here will sing that for you sometime. I know you've heard it, but that's my earworm. That's what's been stuck in my head. The Universalist message is found so deeply embedded in our music and our teachings, transcending the boundaries and barriers of religion and culture and I dare say politics. That song that our pickup choir sang for our prelude this morning, Cuando el Pobre, is a Roman Catholic hymn inspired by the mid-20th century liberation theology that sustained both people and clergy in Latin America, but it alarmed the popes and religious conservatives in Rome, as you can maybe imagine. The hymn comes from a culture that had blended Christian liturgy with indigenous spirituality in the Andean region in South America. Happened all over the world, this blending, this beautiful melange of pluralism. The legend of the Indians from the Andean region is that their supreme creator, our supreme creator, called Viracocha, I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly. Viracocha disguised himself as a beggar and wandered the earth, weeping at the plight of his creatures. It is believed he would return in times of trouble, and as stated in the song, we see God here by our side, walking our way. So I was reading the lyrics to this song, and I lift up this one line: when we choose love, not the hatred all around us. That love is a choice. Throughout the history of humanity, people have been faced with the choice over and over of choosing love over hatred, instead of oppression, instead of fear. So how do we respond? It is in our responses that we define who we are and the world that we are creating by our very choices. So choosing love and acting with kindness and generosity and compassion, what if that was just the way of being? A default setting rather than a reaction to something, rather than actually making the choice. What if that's just where we start from in the first place? Radical hospitality of spirit, not random, but intentional. And through practice, simply a way of being in the world. Maybe this is what the Buddhists would call enlightenment. Just simply being in love and generosity as your core. Jesus taught us to love our neighbor as ourselves. So what is actually the challenge there? Is it to love our neighbor or to love ourselves? What's the challenge? The story you heard earlier that Chris read about the guy on the side of the road being helped by a family from Mexico, that guy, Homer, went on to blog about his experience. His language was a little more colloquial, so it was edited by NPR for our version. But he was saying how that experience changed his entire perspective. And then in this blog post, others were chiming in and sharing their stories one after another and commenting and thanking and appreciating and saying, yeah, me too. And what if? And this happened to me. And thank you for lifting up the generosity of immigrants. Sharing stories of inspiration in their own lives about generosity and kindness. So there have been some pivotal times in my life that the kindness of strangers has had a tremendous impact on me and even changing the course of my life. And I'm sure that you all have stories like that too, that you can say, yeah, when so-and-so, when this happened, maybe it was someone paying for a tuition that you couldn't afford, that gave you an opportunity, or offering a safe place to stay in a time of need and crisis, or even on a grander scale, sponsoring families, entire families of refugees seeking a new life. I've always had kind of a pay-it-forward approach, feeling that if I can give $20 to someone in need, maybe they'll pass that on to another when they're able to, or even if they're never able to, I'm putting that out there into the universe so somebody else has got that $20, right? Today you, tomorrow me, maybe I'll need it. Hoy por ti, mañana por mí. The English equivalent is essentially, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It suggests, though, the way we translate it, a future transaction, a debt to be paid, one being banked, perhaps. If I throw my $20 out there, maybe it'll come back when I need it. So there's kind of an expected return. It's a transactional thing, kind of like paying taxes. Pay it forward is an expression for describing the beneficiary of a good deed, repaying the kindness to others rather than paying it back to the original benefactor that just keeps rolling and rolling. It's also called serial reciprocity. So instead of just a direct exchange, it just keeps going, and that's a good thing. But reciprocity doesn't need to mean that we get something out of it. Not a direct transaction. It recognizes a much larger, greater system of care. We're just a part of it. It's like a chainmail. You got to keep them going. Ooh. But I'm not talking about reciprocity today. There's no expectation of a payback or even a pay it forward in the broken down car story. The recipient of that care needn't seek out somebody else in the same situation. In fact, the helper didn't even say, pay it forward. Although in our translation it may be implied with today you, tomorrow me. But this is where culture is different. He simply knows that the misfortune or need can and will befall each of us, and by putting kindness out into the world, there is the hope that someday somebody else might take care of him or his own family in a time of need. But the root of this sentiment is not about a future hypothetical time of need. It is simply about kindness. Period. The phrase random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty was written by Ann Herbert on a placemat in Sausalito, California in 1982. It was based on the phrase random acts of violence and senseless acts of cruelty. It was her response to that. Now, by definition, a random act of kindness is a non-premeditated, inconsistent action designed to offer kindness to the outside world. Okay. Well, researchers have found that people who perform random acts of kindness tend to actually underestimate the impact, the ripple effect of these little things that we do. Both the giver and receiver of kindness actually experience a physiological benefit. It makes us feel good. So on Oprah.com, yeah, I went there. I found a list of little acts of kindness, small, thoughtful gestures that can make someone else's day. Some of them were, dated, but one of them is just simply to say good morning to the person standing next to you in the elevator. See how surprised they are. Take a minute to direct someone who's lost, even though you're rushing. Write a letter to a child who could use some extra attention. Kids love getting mail. Don't we all? The paper kind? Offer to pick up groceries for an elderly neighbor, especially in extreme weather. I like this one. Give a homeless person your doggy bag. Now, I read that wrong at first. I call it a takeout container. Say, I love you to someone you love. Help a mother carry her baby stroller up the stairs or hold a door open for her. And each time you get a new item of clothing, give away something old. Take someone's shift as the carpool parent. Bring your assistant coffee. Sorry, marginalia. Out of the blue, send flowers to a friend. Random acts of kindness. Say please and thank you and really mean it. Look at the person's eyes in the checkout line and say thank you. It makes a difference. You get the gist, anyways. And these things seem small, but they have ripples, you know that they do. But then what about the real bigger things, the bigger picture? What about the large acts of kindness that we could put on a list? Because we're on a roll. So I'm really asking, right? Like, feel free to shout out. How about deeply listening to understand someone with whom we disagree? That gift of presence, is that not a kindness? Or calling or visiting or writing a card to a Unity member that you haven't seen in a while, or who's mentioned in the Embracing Meditation. We've got a card table out there. That's a big act of kindness. If you've ever received one of these cards, you know how that feels. Come on, throw them out. Big acts of kindness. Write a letter to your congressperson. Indeed. Yes, that is an act of kindness. We are helping the flow of democracy and helping congresspeople to do their work by knowing what support they have. Drive someone to vote. Yeah. Okay. Big acts of kindness. Throw them out. Don't speed, because even if you're really, really late, that's huge. That's huge. Just think about others. People may never, ever know the impact of that kindness, but they will know when it's not there. That's big. Visit a friend in a care center. Yes, the gift of time is so under-recognized, and we have it. What else? Be polite with merging traffic. And you know how that can make someone's day or break it. And then what happens with the rest of the day? Recognizing that we never know what anyone else is carrying in their day. If we can just extend that piece of kindness and not whatever chip is on our shoulder from what we woke up with, then don't we all just live in a better place? How about offering to babysit for a couple so they can have a date night? Reaching out to a relative or anyone that you don't really get along with. Making space to build those bridges of care and attention. Letting people know that they matter to you when maybe they think they don't because some relationship has been broken. Do the repair. That's a huge act of kindness. Do I see a hand up there? Offer help to someone, sorry? Offer help to someone struggling with addiction or mental health. Even just the acknowledgement and offer can make the difference. And then really, truly being there when you're needed. Huge acts of kindness. When you have messed up, apologize. And mean it. Yes, a true apology. We'll go over that in September. Yeah, accountability equals kindness, does it not? Is that not huge? Visit with a person who has dementia so that their caretaker can take a break. Yes, how rich for everybody. Take the time to not assume. Thank you. And that's one of the skills of deep listening, is not listening to respond, but just being present and taking it in. No assumptions. No expected outcome. Oh, cookies. Bring cookies to someone. That sounds like a small thing, but honestly, just letting somebody know that they've been thought of, it's big. Remember people's birthdays. Yeah, don't we love getting those cards? Sit and listen to someone who looks lonely. Yes, that radical hospitality. Ask someone their pronouns, and then really remember them. Yeah, but ask. Ask because it matters. Yeah, there was one more back there. Sorry? Yes, helping your neighbors with lawn care and sidewalk shoveling care. Yes, if you're out there, just do an extra piece. One more. Be present with a child and just follow them. And that goes back to that deep listening. Accompany instead of leading. Just be with. So you guys got this. So now what would it look like? What would it feel like if acts of kindness were not random, but actually the default setting of intention? Intentional acts of kindness. This is how we live our day. This is how we approach the world. We are centered in love. We are here. It's a way of being. It's a way of living our values out of love, out loud, and out large in the world. Shall we try? May it be so. Amen.
Unity Church is framed by statements of conscience, known as its end statements. One of these is, generously give and openly receive compassionate care in times of joy, sorrow, and transition. Our compassionate care extends beyond the walls of this church to community partners with whom we share a common interest. This week, the larger portion of our offering goes to the Keystone Community Service, which is the largest provider of food shelf services in the East Metro. Its Meals on Wheels and food mobiles travel throughout Ramsey County, providing services that are accessible, dignified, and break down barriers. Ramsey County has the higher rates of food insecurity than the Minnesota average, and the demand for Keystone services has tripled in the past 2 years. Please give to this important service as generously as you are able. Will the ushers now please come forward? May the work of our hands and the generosity of our hearts be given in gratitude this day. Let the offering now be taken.
All right, everyone, while the baskets are going around, how about you all learn a song with me? So this is the song that Reverend Lara referenced, Where You Go, I Will Go, by Shoshana Jedwab, and it's a text from the book of Ruth. So here, I'll sing, and you sing it back. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Your turn. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. That it's where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. One more time. Where you go, I will go, beloved. Where you go, I will go. Where you lie, I will lie, beloved. Where you lie, I will lie. Then the second part of the song goes like this. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, you're divine. You're divine, my divine. You're divine, my divine. Here we go. And your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, you're divine. One more time. Your people are my people. Your people are mine. Your people are my people. You're divine, you're divine. Since we're learning songs, so the closing hymn is also one that you might not know. The words are printed in your order of service. And let's see, it goes like this. I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy. Ready? And I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy. Then we do that one step up. I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy. Now one more step. I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not heavy. If I can't lift her up, if I can't lift her up, if I can't lift her up, I will fall down. All right, so let's stand up and sing our closing hymn. And this is a zipper song, which means that you can replace the word sister with a different word, such as neighbors or people or brothers or parents. Let's start with sister. Here we go. And I'm gonna lift my sister up. She is not here. I'm gonna lift. Can lift her up. My neighbor, I'm gonna lift my neighbor up. Ye are not heavy. Let's do one more. My people, I'm gonna lift my people up, they are not heavy. I'm gonna lift my I will fall down.
Well done. Let us go forth into this day, see what it brings to us, and know what we bring to it. We are answering the call of love. May it be so.